All right, Shalom, Shalom. Today is Bible Monday. All praises to the Most High. Last last Bible Monday, we did a lesson that was called the last of the first great commandment, the Sabbath, part 1. So basically, last week we was focused on the Sabbath. And we did a lesson on the Sabbath. So for those that have not seen that lesson, you can go back and look at that lesson right there. And it add on to this lesson because this is just really a part 2 of that lesson. I got a different title, but it's really part 2 of that lesson. And the name of today's lesson is called A Message in the Sabbath. A holy day you just can't switch and not quench the spirit. A message in the Sabbath. A holy day you just can't switch and not quench the spirit. So basically, this lesson is just about the importance of keeping the Sabbath and overlook the Sabbath, because the Sabbath itself has a message. For those that don't know, it's a message in the Sabbath. So that's the name of the lesson, Message in the Sabbath. A holy day you just can't switch and not quench the spirit. First, what we're going to do is we're going to go to we're going to do a review of last week's lesson, a quick review. So we're going to because it's really just part of that last week's lesson. So this is just an extended lesson from last week, and so this is just part 2, but it's basically just an extended lesson. And I will also have an extended lesson from this lesson next Bible Monday. Okay, so first of all, we're going to talk about the Sabbath, the importance of it. Some people don't know the importance of the Sabbath day. Some people keep the Sabbath day on Sunday, and they don't know or don't know that it's actually what we call Saturday is the Lord's day. So we're going to go to this right here lesson to show that by keeping the correct day, which is on what we call Saturday, or the 7th day of the week, or the last day of the week, there is a message within keeping the Sabbath. Okay, so once when we do this lesson, you will see, hopefully I pray that you will see that a holy day, this is a holy day you just can't switch and not quench the spirit, because it's not the same by keeping it another day when the Most High did not sanctify another day. He sanctified the Sabbath. Okay, the 7th day of the week. So you fixing to the Most High's will, you're going to see the importance of keeping the Sabbath because it has a message within itself. So first of all, we're going to go to Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 19 through 20. Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 19 through 20.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 20, verse 19. I am the Lord your God. Walk in my statutes and keep my judgments and do them, and hallow my Sabbath. And they shall be a sign between me and you, that ye may know that I am the Lord your God.
So the Most High himself said, keeping the Sabbath is a sign between you and him. So if it's a sign between you and him, there has to be a message within that sign, which is the Sabbath. So that's why the name of the lesson is called A Message in the Sabbath. Okay, so now we're going to, so basically, the times are based off Sabbaths. 7 is the letter, is the number that the Most High keep as a marker of the extended time of when creation, when everything was created, all the way to the end, it's always, when it comes to a marker, it has something to do with the letter 7. Now, and it's not the tradition of the pagans or those who follow superstition, which they call it lucky 7. That has nothing to do with that. If you're playing it based off that, you are not doing the things of the Most High. You following sorcery, or you following another spirit by trying to keep a superstition based off what the Most High gave as a sign between you and him. Okay, so in that lesson that we did last week, I spoke about how Genesis, in the book of Genesis, when the Most High said he won't dwell with man but 120 years, and I showed how that 120 years is based off Jubilees. And one Jubilee is 50 years, so that's one Jubilee is 50, so that's when he says 120, he's saying that that's actually 6,000 years. So the Most High, when he created everything, he created it. It says one day on earth is like 1,000 years. I mean, one day in heaven is like 1,000 years on earth, and one day in heaven is like 1,000 years on earth. Okay, so basically, it took 6,000 years for the Most High to create everything, and he rested the 7th day. And then he said that he should not strive with man, but 120 years, meaning that after that Sabbath, when he rested, he will begin to recreate again in heaven and recreate a new heaven and a new earth. And it's going to take 6,000 years. Okay, so now you got after the 7,000th year, you could start over and say it's 1,000 years, which is 8,000 years. You got the 2,000 years, which is 9,000, and then go on so forth to go to the 6,000th year, which is the 13,000th year, and that's the 1,000-year reign of Christ. And then you got another seventh day, which is the 14,000th year, and another Sabbath. Okay, so when you look at it that way, when the Most High created everything, he hallowed the Sabbath. He created everything in 6 days, and then he made on the 7th day he made the Sabbath, or he hallowed the Sabbath, and then he's doing it again, and there's going to be another Sabbath. Okay, so now the lesson that I'm showing is that in heaven, you got a Sabbath, and then you got another Sabbath coming. So this is basically the lesson about the message within the Sabbath, or a message in the Sabbath. So first of all, let's go to, and we're still in the review. I'm just reviewing what we talked about last week. So let's go to Exodus chapter 20, verse 8.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Okay, so last week we talked about when it says remember, the reason why he said remember, because that means that either someone is going to change it or you're going to forget it. Okay, so and it says that the enemy think to change times and laws. If you say remember, that means that either somebody's going to change it or you're going to forget it. Okay, so he wants you to remember it. And then it says to keep holy, meaning do not do anything or add anything that he didn't tell us to add to that day, just like the other days, meaning keep it righteous as the other days. Keep all days righteous. That's what it's saying. Don't do no new custom because he hallowed the Sabbath, or make it a superstition or something outside of what he gave us or told us to keep, or how to keep it. Okay, so that's what it means to keep holy, right? Nothing different, meaning stay righteous, just like you righteous on the other days, and don't forget that day. All right, so now continue on in Exodus chapter 20, verse 19 through 11.
Exodus 20, verse 19. And they said unto Moses, Speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not God speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said unto the people, Fear not, for God is come to please you.
My bad. I might have said it wrong. I meant to say we're going to continue on Exodus chapter 20, verse 9 through 11. Sorry if I said it wrong. We're still on the Sabbath. We're still talking about the Sabbath.
Verse 9. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath for the Lord thy power. And thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son nor thy daughter, thy manservant nor thy maidservant nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gate. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and holiday.
Okay, so last week I brought a chart out to show you what he was actually talking about, to give you a better understanding of when he's saying, remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. When he says 6 days should I labor. The key word is labor, okay? So, and then you can go in the scriptures and you can find this out. But you have 3 parts of the law that we keep right here. Let me look on this right here. You got what's called the moral law, which is the principles of the 10 Commandments, which is the right and wrong. And I put on there universal, and the reason why it's universal because every nation has to keep some form of the moral law, or the nation will be destroyed. So believe it or not, every nation, if any nation don't have no morality in it, it'll be destroyed. So some commandments we keep by default, don't even know we're keeping it, but we have to have a sense of morality, or the nation will be destroyed. That nation will be destroyed. So, but of course they don't keep all of the moral law like we supposed to. But I'm just saying you have to keep a form of it in order for your nation to stand. Okay, so you have also what's called the ceremonial law, the rules of worship, priesthood, dietary laws, clean and unclean, holy convocation, assemble, festives, circumcision. Okay, so this is the ceremonial part of the law. Okay, so now, and then you have what's called the civil judicial law, which is labor, working like to make wages, working, governing a nation, to prevent chaos, social order. And then I gave an example of that in Romans chapter 13, verse 1 through 8. This is the part where we rest from. This is what we keep, when he says, remember the Sabbath to keep it holy, we keep this. We keep the moral law, of course. We keep the ceremonial law, and we rest from civil work. This is the part right here, what we don't do on the 7th day. So when we do the things that we're supposed to do within the body, within the church, it's lawful. Christ showed the example when he was in the field chucking the corn to feed the people that was with him when they was out doing the work of the Most High. And then the Pharisees didn't like and try to use that against him. And he reminded them what David did and everything. So this right here part is lawful when we are working. Then he healed somebody on the Shabbat. So doing the work of the Most High is not unlawful. It's good to do on the Sabbath. It's good. Is it unlawful to do good on the Sabbath? No. So this is the part that we rest from. Those, sometimes we have to use grace, depends on what kind of job you got. But this is the part that we, when it explains it, when it says the silver, when it says thou shalt not, when it talk about the labor, your ox, your manservant, your maidservant, it explained that it was talking about this. It was not talking about the ceremonial. Remember, we are a royal priesthood, so we have to operate in the ceremonial on the Shabbat. And then, of course, we keep the moral law. Okay, so this right here was last week's lesson when we was talking. It's just a little bit about the chart, about when it's talking about keeping the Sabbath. How do you keep the Sabbath? It's talking about resting from your labor. and different things like, stuff like that. Govern a nation to prevent chaos, social order, and different things like that. That's what you are resting from. You admiring your work, and I'm gonna give an example of that also. And then of course Christ said, "I'm the Lord of the Sabbath," because He showed example. And He said the Sabbath was made for man, and that means labor. That was made for man. That means that you don't work on that day. You rest from your labor. It was made for us. Sabbath was made for us, not the other way around. Okay, and then to give an example, the Most High, the creating, He was working. When He created everything, He was working. And then He rested on the Sabbath. But one thing I can say is, you don't think on the Sabbath He didn't do ceremonial in heaven? So you got to think about it like He worked, and then He rested from His work. But of course, He just didn't sit there. He did the ceremonial things, and He brought that to Adam. He brought that to, all the way to Moses. He brought out all the priesthood and how to operate to the Levitical priest, and all the way to us, which is a royal priesthood in Christ. So this right here is the example of laboring. The Most High labored when He created all things, when He created everything. Okay. So this part right here of the outline, I call this part between Sabbaths in heaven. Between Sabbaths in heaven. Between the Sabbaths in heaven to the next Sabbath in heaven, which is in Revelation 21. So when you look at the Bible, when you read the scriptures, when He rested, the time He rested, and then of course after that 7,000th year, He began to labor again, because remember what we read earlier in that when He said He should not dwell with man, His spirit should not dwell with man, but 120 years, that's the 6,000 years, He began to work again. The Most High began to labor again. And then it's coming, and then in Revelation 21, He rested again. That's the New Jerusalem. Those who know the scripture, that's another Sabbath in heaven. Okay. The new heaven and the tabernacle of the Most High, which is the new earth. Between that, in the earth realm, you have weekly Sabbaths with seasons and feast days. Go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 14 through 19. So this is between that, you have, in the earth realm, you have weekly Sabbaths with seasons and feast days.
The book of Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let there be for signs and for seasons, and for days and years, and let them be for the lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made stars also, and God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning was the fourth day.
Okay, so that was the fourth day. He set everything up for signs and seasons, which would be Sabbaths on earth, and even feast days. That'll be for feast days going forward also. So after this, the Most High brought forth life in this realm called earth on the fifth day, and then man on the sixth day. After the Sabbaths in heaven, after the Sabbath in heaven, after the flood, the Most High appointed Noah's son Shem as the order of Melchizedek, which means king and priest, to teach Abraham the word of the Most High. And Abraham received the promised covenant of the Most High. 400 years later, Moses, the descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the 12 tribes of Jacob/Israel, received the name of their God. Go to Exodus chapter 3, verse 13 through 15.
The book of Exodus, chapter 3, verse 13. And Moses said unto God, Behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, The God of your fathers has sent me unto you. And they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say unto them? And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am who sent me unto you. And the Most High said moreover unto Moses, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, The Lord God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations.
Okay, so the Most High gave his name. First time he gave his name in the Bible, he said his name is I am that I am, Ahaya Shahaya. That was the name given to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He said, this is my name forever and a memorial unto all generations. So that means thou shalt not use his name in vain, or he would not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. So we know that that's the Most High's name that's established. So, and he received the law of Ahia on Mount Sinai to reestablish his promise and covenant with man. Remember the symbol of the rainbow? That was the covenant that he made when he showed Noah. When Noah saw the rainbow, that was always to remember the covenant that he made. And this right here is a reminder. This rainbow is a reminder of, go to Genesis. Now you go back to Genesis chapter 6, verse 3.
The book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 3. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always cry with man, but that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years.
Okay, so we established that 120 years is 6,000 years. That means that he's gonna. It's a timeline. He got all the way. It's gonna be 6,000 years, and then he's gonna reestablish himself with that promise that when he showed that rainbow, that was that promise. So when you see that rainbow, think about the 120 years or the 120 Jubilees. When you see a rainbow, that means 6,000 years, and then really Christ is going to return. Well, Christ is going to establish his kingdom here in 6,000 years. Okay, so he gave us feast days, known also as Sabbaths, based off of the 4 seasons, 52 Sabbaths, what we call Saturdays, 364 days, because it's 52 Sabbaths or 52 Saturdays, and then it's with every New Year. Will also, well, anyway, the New Year this year would be the 1st of March, and it also will be the first day of spring. So the New Year this year will be in 2026, will be the first, it'll be March the 1st, and that'll also be the first day of spring. In Leviticus 23, as they sign between us and the Father, Ahia, go to Leviticus chapter 23, read verse 1 through 4.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 23, starting at verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, Concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocation, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall thou work, 6 days shall work be done. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest, and holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein, for it is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocation, which ye shall proclaim in their season.
Proclaiming their seasons. So feast days / holy days are given and not holidays. On February the 10th, Tuesday, which is tomorrow at sunset, to Wednesday, the 11th, is what we call Purim. And that's the version of our version of what they call Christmas, meaning the giving of gifts. So when you learn about holy days and keeping the holy days, and you're saying, well, what about these days right here? What can we do? There are things that we do also on the feast days that you won't worry about the holidays. So if those who kept December the 25th as Christmas, Once when you said, okay, I'm fixing to stop doing that, but what can I do to replace that if I got children? You can keep what's called Purim. Okay, that's the time of giving gifts. And the last holy day of the biblical year, that's our last holy day of the biblical year based off of Sabbaths. So just giving the name of holy days, so somebody may want to know what the holy days are. You got what's called a new month or new season. I'm going to show that in a minute about that. And also you got Passover. You got the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You got First Fruits, which is also called the Feast of Weeks, and Pentecost. Then you have another a new season. You have two new seasons of fall and summer. You have spring, summer, and fall. Then you have blowing of the trumpets, Day of Atonement, Feast of Tabernacle. Then you have the new season again. You have winter. Then you have Feast of Dedications, and then you have Purim. So I'm just naming off of these feast days that the Most High established in Leviticus 23. So in Leviticus 23, the Sabbath of feast or holy days are listed. Now, when it says new month or season in the Bible, it's called a new moon. But we're going to clear that up and show what does that mean when it says new moon. Go to Isaiah chapter 66, verse 23.
Book of Isaiah chapter 66, verse 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord.
Okay, so whenever you see the word new moon, that's not talking about the actual moon in the sky. Okay, and I'm going to show you proof of that. So we can get the understanding. When you see the word new moon, we're going to establish what does that mean when we see the word new moon. If you go to your Strong's Concordance and you type in 82303, H2303, that Hebrew word is chodash, which means really month or season. It really means season. So when you see the word new moon, it's a new month and also a new season at the same time, which is spring, summer, fall, winter. That in the Bible is known as new moon, but it's really new season or new month. Okay? So it's not talking about the moon, and I'm going to show you the difference. So now go to Psalms chapter 89, verse 34 through 37. Psalms chapter 89, verse 34 through 37.
The book of Psalms, chapter 89, starting at verse 34. My covenant will I not break, nor alter the thing that is going out of my lips. Once I have sworn by my holiness that I will not lie unto David. His seed shall endure forever, and his throne as the sun before me. It shall be established forever, as the moon and as a faithful witness in heaven. Allah.
So I made sure he actually read before he went to the word moon. I made sure he read the word sun first, so you will know it's talking about the sun and the moon. Okay, so this right here, if you look this word up, when it says the moon, you go to H3394. H3394. And that word is Yerach, which means moon. So you have two different words. When you see that word new moon in the Bible, that word is Chodash, which is H2303, which means month or season. And when you just see the word moon in the Bible, it is Yerah, which is H3394. So there's a difference now. To keep us from following the moon, now we understand now when it says new season, it's not talking about following the moon. And that was done on purpose so that if you follow the moon rises and sets 29 days, 6 months a year. 29 days, 6 months a year, and 30 days, 6 months a year, which gives you a total of 364 days a year, which is 10 days short of the new year and the seasons coming in before its time. So the seasons coming in before its time. So when we read earlier about the 52 Sabbaths, that'll give us 364 days a year. And it's based off of Sabbaths. So that's how important the Sabbaths are, because it's done by the sun. Now I got a lesson. I'm not going to do it today. That'll give you the total understanding based off the secrets of the times. I'm not going to do that lesson today, but I got that lesson. One day we'll do that to give you the total understanding of it, without me just calling out the numbers of how many the 54 of the moon, 54 days of the moon, and of the sun 364 days, which is the correct time. So this right here is based off of Sabbaths. That means that the Most High never changed his days and times, and he sought that as a promise. And I got a chart here just to give you just an insight of how everything is sought as far as the luminaries, the immediate luminaries, not including the stars and stuff like that, the immediate luminaries that the Most High has sought. Christ is over this. So, and the luminaries are sought in place for the signs and the seasons for us to follow according to the Sabbaths, because there's a promise that was given when he said 120 years. And this cycle never stops. And our Sabbath's supposed to never stop. That's why he said, remember the Sabbath and also keep it holy. And also our feast days should not stop also, because you got 120 Jubilees and then the 1,000-year reign of Christ. So you had the time from the flood that happened. That was the Sabbath. That was a Sabbath. The 7th day. Then you have another 7th day coming up, where that 7,000th year, that'll be another Sabbath. But also you have a Sabbath when Christ come to reign also, and I'm going to show you that also. When Christ come for the 1,000-year reign, that would also be a Sabbath. Okay, so I'm going to show you, and the reason why I'm showing you this because of the title. So I'm going somewhere with that, even though it may seem like I'm just doing a lot of talking, because the name of the title again is A Message in the Sabbath. And then I say a holy day you just can't switch and not quench the spirit. Okay. So basically I got a little chart just to give you a little insight about how everything is fixed, how everything's supposed to be, and you got to follow the Most High, and he has signs and the signs of times by the seasons set up so we can follow from Sabbath to Sabbath all the way to the end. Okay, this right here, maybe you can see it. I don't know. Let's see. This right here chart is kind of a small kind of insight how to show you everything is set in place. And what you see right here is the sun, and that's the way the sun goes around the earth. This right here is the earth. And notice it's a 6-pointed star because you have those that worship the sun that have that symbol. And that's another time for another lesson. But it's the reason why they have that symbol, because they worship the sun. They know the sun go through portals around the earth. And that's why when you like, let's just say Alaska get a lot of daytime certain times and a lot of night, it's because the sun going through certain portals at certain times, 6 times a month, and then another 6 times a month it goes through portals. So I got that wrote here, and then I got right here I got the sun 364 days, 52 Sabbaths. The sun, the never change. The sun goes through its portals year by year, day by day, and it never changes. And then you have the moon right here. It follows the sun, but it only goes and follow the sun for 354 days a year, and 10 days it don't follow the sun. It goes off. But then it gets back in track and follow the sun. Okay? And then what you got right here is the 3 gates in the north, south, east, and west. These 3 gates are known as what people indicated, or what they called the zodiacs. This right here is where the spirit, or your spirit, comes into the earth once when it's conception and everything. And Christ is over all this, but witches and warlocks look for signs. That's why they read their horoscope and read their signs based off following these gates. But they use divination to do it, because they don't supposed to do that. And then knowing someone's sign does not indicate are they good or bad, are they going to heaven or hell. So this right here is, you've got 3 gates to the east, 3 gates to the west, 3 gates to the north, 3 gates to the south, and then you got the 4 angels, the 4 winds, or the 4 corners: Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel. It's just a small, I'm just showing you just right here how everything is fixed. That's why you got to remember the Sabbath, because everything is fixed and everything is going to go in order regardless. If you go off of this, that's a sign between you and the Father that you're not in that promise from that 120 Jubilees, or that next Sabbath. But anyway, I just wanted to show this little chart as far as a little bit of now you can go back again, go to Genesis chapter, go back to Genesis chapter 1, verse 14 through 19.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens, to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for the lights in the firmament of the heavens, to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heavens, to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good, and the evening and the morning for the 4th day.
Okay, so everything is sought, and it always been sought, for the signs and the seasons to keep in between those 120 Jubilees, until the day again that the Most High have another Sabbath in heaven. We keep it on earth. And so that's what I call from Sabbaths to Sabbaths. So for that reason, on the Gregorian calendar, that's why Pope Gregory added 300 years to the calendar for the seasons, so the seasons will be late. Well, the seasons, instead of the seasons, I got wrote right here, I says it was added to have the season to be late because it's ahead. So he put everything ahead and made it like it's late. By adding 300 years, the seasons are late. We're ahead of it. The Gentiles, on one end, got the time coming in too early, which is the moon. They follow the moon. and they made time pass on the other end. So on this end, if we follow that, 300 years that's added, 2026, everything has passed. Them days are late. So you have some thinking Christ never came the first time, and in the other end, they saying Christ is never going to come because the time set for him to come has already passed. So this is where all this ideology comes from, as far as from the elite that put out this information to confuse the masses, because they don't understand that the Sabbath is a sign between us and the Father to stay on that sign. The elite that oppose the Bible know that the Father has set time from the flood until the judgment based off of Sabbaths. So their goal is to quench the spirit the Most High has sent unto the earth by thinking to change times and laws. So now it makes sense, even also when you go to Revelation chapter 12, verse 14 through 17. So go to that right there. I love to go to Revelation 12, because that's actually in our time, current time.
What verses was it? What verses?
Revelation chapter 12, verse 14 through 17.
The book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 14. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times, and half a time, from the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth, and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and he went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God, and have the testimony of the Messiah Christ.
So we are near the end of the 12,000 years. The 13,000th year is the 1,000-year reign of Christ. From the time Moses received the law until Christ was born was 35 Jubilees. And Christ until when he was born, it was 35 Jubilees. And from Christ until the 1,000-year reign of Christ is 35 Jubilees. So that time and a half of time is split up, and it's 1750, because 35 Jubilees is 35 times 50 is 1750. So you had 1750 from Moses to Christ, which is 35 Jubilees, and you had 1750 from Christ to the 1,000-year reign of Christ, which is 35 Jubilees. So from Moses to Christ reigning from for the 1,000 years is 70 Jubilees. So you got from Moses to the end from Moses to the 1,000-year reign of Christ is 70 Jubilees. So go to Matthew chapter 24, verse 22 through 24.
Yeah, Matthew 22 through 24.
Matthew chapter 24, verse 22 through 24.
Yeah, verse 22. And except those days should be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Then, if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, and so much that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect.
Okay, so I'm gonna show something here too. Go to so if Christ is gonna cut time short for the elect's sake, and if it was possible, even the very elect would be deceived. And when Christ comes back, he's coming for war. He is coming for war, and he's gonna take down all the nations. And after he take down all the nations, he's gonna have the nations do some things before he set up his before he set up in David's throne. Go to Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 11 through 12.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 39, verse 11. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will give unto Gog a place there of graves in Israel, the valley of the passenger on the east of the sea. And they shall stop the noses of the passengers, and there shall they bury Gog and all his multitude. And they shall call it the valley of Hamon-Gog. And 7 months shall the house of Israel be burying of them, that they may cleanse the land.
So when Christ come and do the destruction of the earth, 7 months, body's going to be buried, and he's going to have the Gentiles cleaning up all the things upon the earth and everything. So another reason why he's cutting time short for the elect's sake, because you have the 70 Jubilees based off of Sabbaths, a rest on earth and peace. And also, this is the reason why the Sabbath is in the Commandment, because when Christ go into the 1,000-year reign, that'll be the 70th Jubilee from the time of Moses when he received the law, all the way to the return of Christ. He's gonna cut time short before that 70, so that when that 70 hits, it'll be another time of rest. That'll be the 1,000-year reign of Christ. That'll be a Sabbath. That 70 will be also a Sabbath. And that'll also be the 13,000th year since earth was created. And we know after Christ reigned 1,000 years on earth, we know that 14,000th year is the rest in heaven. That's why it says in Revelation 21, I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the other things, the former things has passed away. And of course, the earth becomes the tabernacle of the Most High, where he dwells with us. So I'm showing the importance of the Sabbath and why we should keep it. When I put on the title is there's a message in the Sabbath, a holy day you just can't switch and not quench the spirit, because Christ is going to cut time short for the elect's sake, so also that they can walk into their Sabbath, their rest, which will be that 70th Jubilee, also the 13,000th year, and that begins the 1,000-year reign of Christ. So Christ is going to take down all these nations before the day of rest, or before the 1,000-year reign, also for the elect's sake, so that the elect can experience the rest that was promised to Israel during the time he say, I will sit on David's throne. That will be the rest. That would be the beginning of the 70th Jubilee. That's also a Sabbath. So I'm showing where the Sabbath is so important, because it has so many markers during the time of when the Most High created everything, and then all the way to the end, he's going to rest again, but he's going to send his son here to take down all nations and also rest on earth, that 70th Jubilee from the time of Moses receiving the law, and the time, of course, he was born, that was 35 Jubilees, and then the end is going to be 35 Jubilees, that makes it 70, which is also a generation. That will also be a day of rest. That'll be the time of rest, and he will sit on David's throne and rule from the earth, and also the elect, the government, the 144,000, and then all nations will go before Christ, and they will bring their sacrifice. They will bring the gold and riches. It talks about that in Isaiah chapter 60 and everything. So this is why you can't just say, okay, I can just take this Sabbath and just use it another day even though it's in the commandments, and it says thou shalt not kill. I'm not going to kill because that's breaking the law. Thou shalt not commit adultery. I can't commit adultery. That's breaking the law. Also, thou shalt not bear false witness. Oh, I can't lie because I'm breaking the law. But one thing a lot of people overlook is remember the Sabbath, because they think if I keep it another day, I'm still keeping it. Not realizing there's a reason why he said remember the Sabbath and also keep it holy, because this is the promise that he made when he rests again on earth, when he bring Christ to rest with his people, and then when he bring the new heaven and new earth, and that'll be the end of this chapter of creation, from the time on this side of the flood to that part of Revelation chapter 21. That'll be the final of that rest, and then it's the new chapter that we don't know nothing about. So that's the end of the lesson. I knew it wasn't going to be that long. Like I said, this is basically more notes than a lot of scriptures. But I wanted to show that how important the Sabbath is, and to show that Christ is going to cut time for the elect's sake, so that the elect can enjoy that 70th Jubilee, that rest, that next Sabbath on earth. Then you got the Sabbath after 1,000 years in heaven, coming to earth to bring total rest for all. No more sinners. Satan is gone. That's the total rest going on in the 14,000th year. Okay, so that's why the name of the lesson is called A Message in the Sabbath. A holy day you just can't switch and not quench the spirit. And that's what I got. So anybody got any questions or comments based off this lesson? A message in the Sabbath. A holy day you just can't switch and not quench the spirit.
Outstanding lesson.
Praise a higher. Praise a higher. So now it makes sense if you look at it now. If he says for the elect's sake, he's going to cut time short for the elect's sake, we just thinking that he's just coming to save us from all harm and danger, but not realizing he's also coming so we can enjoy that Sabbath coming in to that 1,000-year reign, that 13,000th year, where he sit on David's throne.
Right.
Well, this was a great lesson. I didn't know, how deep it went. I knew, that, it's the highest day you're supposed to honor the Sabbath, but I didn't know the down deep significance of it, that is really much more to it of why you supposed to, why he said that you're supposed to honor the Sabbath. So this was a great lesson.
Praise the higher. Praise the Most High. And see, now, to me personally, I think that how people downplay that fourth commandment, now it puts it back up there with the rest of the commandments when that first great commandment, when it says, love the Most High with all your heart, mind, body, and soul. And that's in there. Thou shalt not have no other God before him. Thou shalt not make it to the engraven image. Thou shalt not use his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Now you see the Sabbath is the points that he made with his promise. The Sabbath is based off his promise. Keep that promise, that promise, that promise. That rainbow is way more important. I mean, we know what everybody try to use it for now, but what I'm saying is, I know that we look at it to say, next time he's coming with fire and everything like that, but that's also a promise that he will set it back up like it was during the time when before Adam and Eve sinned, and everything was really perfect at that time period. He's going to set it back up that way, but without a sun and a moon, because he will be the light.
Shalom, Deacon. It's Brother Brian here. Got a quick question to it. It's related, but it is and it isn't. But just a question about was it Genesis first chapter, 16th verse, when it says, "And the Most High made two great lights: the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. And He made the stars also." When He talks about the stars, is that making more angels? Or is that just part of the firmament? Or can you break that down a little bit? Is that related?
Well, you have to think about it. Though he got many creatures, many creatures. Remember before time was made. Remember Satan was there, and he was kicked out of. He was. When we did that lesson about when it says that when the Most High said, "Let there be light."
Yes,
And that we find out that light is Christ. Remember before that, when we read St. John chapter 1, verse 1, in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God.
Yes,
that was before time.
Yeah.
And then you got to think about it. He made the angels and everything at that time period, and then He said, "Let us make man in our image." And of course, that's when the rebellion happened in Jeremiah chapter 4. It speaks of that, when Satan was, when darkness came over and Satan was cast out. And then you have the rest of the things created when He made the signs for the seasons and the stars. So all that right there, He was continue to create it. They was created then. So He made, you might well say He made more angels. Now, one thing I can say too, though, it did say that the sun and moon is going to give up their light, because when they come back, they're going to, they're going to give up their luminaries back to where it's supposed to be. So when it says the Most High made two great lights, one greater for light to rule the day and one to rule the night, and all the stars. Either way, it could be that they was already created. He gave them assignment to be for the signs and the seasons. They was given commands. You get what I'm saying? They could have been created before time, but then during the time when during that day, during that fourth day, He sought them into a work for the earth to minister to the earth and everything.
Right.
So I can't validate either or on that as far as saying, hey, this is when those stars was just made. They was angels, but they could have been already made, and then they was given assignment to be doing this right here, because the sun and the moon is going to lose the luminaries when Christ returns and go back to what they were.
Okay. All praises. The water.
On the bar. Because like I said, that's why, when you read Enoch, it says thousands and 10,000s of angels, and, there's different kind of angels. So about the ones that's standing behind the four angels that's saying, "Holy, holy, holy." There's, and John described how they look, and everything. There's another world outside of this world. This world was the one that was cursed as far as this realm. But then you have the darkness and Satan, which would be destroyed. But before Adam sinned, Adam had access to all these realms. Him and Eve can go to all these realms. And of course, when they sinned, they was driven out of Eden, which is the third heaven, or paradise, and they bound here. Flesh and blood can't enter into the kingdom of heaven because they might touch that tree of good and evil. The tree of life. Right. Still have that sin. So that's a good question. No, that's a good question you asked right there. Like I said, I can't validate was they already created or not, but I'll say this is when they were given that assignment to be what they are now for us.
Okay.
Anybody else got any questions or comments based off the lesson, A Message in the Sabbath? A holy day you just can't switch and not quench the spirit. But one thing I can say is we're looking for that 1,000-year reign of Christ, which is a new Sabbath for us, which is another Sabbath for us, and Christ bringing peace on earth. Everybody gonna be in the Sabbath. That 70th Jubilee of 13,000th year. And then he said those that go against that, he's gonna destroy.
That peace is music to my ears. I'm ready for peace.
Say what now? Say what now?
I said that peace is music to my ears. I'm ready for rest and peace.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Like I said, you just look at it like, okay, that 70th Jubilee. That's a rest. That's a Sabbath. That's a 13,000 year. Remember, he cut time short, so he made sure he destroyed all those who came against him and his people before it was rest time. And we read, we can go to that, anytime about when that garment get red, like he's stepping on grapes.
Mm-hmm.
But all praises to the Most High. Like I said, I'm just showing the importance of the Sabbath. I know we all keep the Sabbath, but I just want to just give more insight in it for those that keep Sunday worship, but don't and think, okay, as long as I keep a day, it's okay, but not realizing that there's a message in this Sabbath by keeping the Sabbath. And the Most High, he put it out there, and we just have to understand that he made a promise, and us keeping this Sabbath is a sign between us and him about this promise. So, but with that being said, all praises to the Most High. I pray everyone have a blessed Purim starting tomorrow night at sunset. Elder said they'll be on. I think they're coming on tomorrow night, so they'll be on. But all praises to the Most High. I'm excited because, we're getting closer to the new year. After that, the new year come up, and it's Passover time. Another year of Passover. And what's funny is, those who've been watching for years that know us, they know it's about that time too. And they don't even keep it. They know it's about that time. But anyway, I pray everyone have a blessed night, get some good rest, and a highest will. The men talk, and then like I said, this Sabbath, those who are gonna celebrate, I'll be at the Black History thing. I'll be there in spirit. But all in all, we one in Christ, and hey, let's get it. But y'all have a blessed night, and I would like to say to everyone, Shalom.
Shalom, Deacon.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom, Deacon.
Shalom, family.
Shalom. Shalom.